Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Pranic Healing podcast. Today we have Genie. Genie is a pranic healer and arhatic yogi and author of many books, especially the book Dreams to Reality: Four Keys to Living the Life of Your Dreams. She is also a magnetic recode practitioner and a hypnotist. Please welcome Genie.
Oh yeah, hi. My name is
Hi, Genie.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I've known Jeannie for many, many years. We first met in Pranic Healing, and now she's in Texas, in Houston, correct?
Yes. I live in
Yes.
Jersey. I forgot when we met. I think 20.
We met at the Center for Pranic Healing in New Jersey. We were doing the healing nights
I know,
together, and that's how we met. And I think that was like 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, approximately.
probably.
So it was a while ago. But I remember, Jeannie, we had so much fun together during the healing nights. And I think that one of the things that, we connected on initially was talking about manifestation, right? So that is going to be the topic for today, especially with your book,
Mhm.
Dreams to Reality: The Four Keys to Living the
Yes.
Life of Your Dreams. So, but just to give the audience a quick overview of you, Jeannie, can you just tell a little bit about yourself and how you first got into pranic healing itself?
Oh yeah. So chronic healing. I always wanted to do an energetic course. I always wanted to be certified because I came to America in 2013, 2014. I was supposed to be
Mhm.
taking like it's an energy healing course. I was supposed to be taking it on the last year I was there before I left, but then I wasn't able to take it. Like it was a different healing energy modality, but when I came to America, it was always at the back of my mind. Like, I'm interested in healing. I want to learn more about healing. It was really like unfinished business on my part. So, because I already set that intention that I'm definitely going to be certified in a healing modality. At that time, I was focusing on the other one, which was theta healing. Um, but because of the power of intention, I just met the right people, the right
Mhm.
connection. So I actually
Right.
friends in New York thing, like feeding the homeless, and one of them was apparently it was I didn't know that the Pranic Healers were the ones organizing it for over 10 years at that time. Um, and one of the participants was Pranic Healer Isha. I forgot her name. Was it Isha? Yeah,
Yes, Isha.
said
Hmm.
like,
Yep.
oh, there's gonna be a free healing class at 1 o'clock, and at that time it was like 11 o'clock something, and then said you can still make it.
Hmm.
And so after the feeding the homeless, I went there and I met Gabriel, and then it was just he was my first pranic healing teacher, and then from then on I met like Louisa, and then
Yes, all those senior
and then
teachers.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's a beautiful story, and I wanted to add that you were initially from Cebu in the Philippines, correct? The
Oh
island?
yeah, so that was
Yes.
very mystic, and which was kind of weird too. Sometime in 2015 I attended a seminar, and then like she's like she's what do you call that, like she has precognitive abilities or like psychic clairvoyance, yeah.
Clairvoyance.
And she actually was sitting next to me and she said, you're actually um practicing um a sort of practice that's from someone like from your own people. I'm like, own people? And then I can see that he's like your kind, like your people, which is Filipino. And then I was like, what am
Yeah.
I practicing that? And then it took me a while, and then I realized,
Mm.
oh my god, it's pranic healing, because yeah, Master
Yes.
Joel Koksui is actually from my same town, from my same yeah.
Same town. Right. Wow. That's an amazing story. I always recall that story, and it's just an amazing synchronicity again of how aligned, our lives are, even when we don't even realize it when we're not even cognizant of it. So, yeah, so you moved from the Philippines to the United States and you sort of found pranic healing through this feeding program that was organized by Pranic Healing. And you took pranic healing for the first time, and then you went all the way up to Arhatic, which is more of the spiritual practice in pranic healing. And so now you moved to Texas and you've been writing many, many books because I know we always talk a lot about your books and how great they are. And I think a lot of the conversations that we have talk about manifestation. And I think manifestation is a very hot topic, especially in the energy healing world, right? Because we gotta we gotta have the energy part in manifestation too, in addition to the affirmations or the habits and things that we do too. But I wanted to kind of touch about your book, Dreams to Reality: The Four Keys to Living your dream life. And I wanted to talk about how you started to come up with writing that book and why you wrote that book and how was the process like, because it sounds like you had kind of miraculous manifestations yourself even before writing that book, correct?
Um, yeah, so I realized that we are energy beings, but we're not just energy beings. We have a body, we have a mental body, emotional body, all of those other aspects to self. Um, and what do you call that? It's just um I realized that doing manifestation and very inconsistently, I realized there must be like the keys to manifestation that makes more sense. So the keys to manifestation, of course, are um, over my over a decade of manifesting things. Um, is that it all boils down to working with the four keys, which are not just the energetic working with your energy, but working with the other levels of mind. So first you have to have clarity, which is mental clarity of what you want, and
Mhm.
clear what gets in the way, which is you can use pranic healing to clear whatever emotional blocks that you have or any mental blocks that you have. And there's other methods that
Mhm.
I use to magnetic recode. And then there's subconscious reprogramming, which is working on your mental mind, your unconscious. And then aligned action, which is working on your body, your physical body. So I realized that it all boils down to the four keys. No matter what kind of modalities you use, you first have to
Mhm.
be clear what you want, clarity,
Yes.
clearing, subconscious reprogramming, and aligned action. So you work with all aspects of your mind. You work with all aspects of your body, like your your physical bodies, mental bodies, emotional, and all that other.
Mm. Beautiful. Beautiful. I know that in pranic healing, we have our, own course in manifestations. It's called Kriya Shakti,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm always just wowed by your experiences with that you tell me, especially with your synchronicities and the way things happen and the way things kind of materialize. And I think that your perspective in your book offers a little bit, even another perspective, right? Another way of looking at manifestation, but it's a very clear and simple way that pairs very nicely with pranic healing. So you wrote your book, right? And I'm sure there were a lot of experiences in writing your book, right? And can you give us like one experience that kind of just just basically gave an example, just highlighted the power of the four keys, right? The keys of having clarity, the keys of clearing, the keys of subconscious reprogramming, and aligned action. Like, what was one example experience that kind of showed that that method works for you?
Yeah, so that method really works because I used it on myself. It's not a method, it's more like the keys. It's like,
Hmm.
it's like let's say when you go on a trip, you need your luggage, you need your clothes, right? You need your
Hmm.
ticket or whatever, you need a vehicle.
Yeah.
So you need like it's just four things that the major four things that you need. Um
Hmm.
in order to manifest. So it's not more like a technique because you can use any techniques, but it's more like, um, you need these four things. Let's say a cookie. Of course, you need a flour.
A recipe.
Yeah. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
recipe actually, the recipe, the steps. You need like the
Mm-hmm.
basic steps. So these are just the four steps or four important steps you need to take. So with me is I already set an intention, which is using your mental mind or your mind. I already set an intention that I was going to write a book about um, manifestation. That was years ago, but it wasn't the right time. And so when I worked on being clear exactly what it is that I wanted to write, and then
Mm-hmm.
blocking, the procrastination, and then also, through self hypnosis, I do that on myself. I was just able to finish the book, and I just wrote the book and yeah,
Yeah.
put it out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you wrote the book in a pretty short amount of time, correct? I think it didn't take like a year. It took like
Oh yeah,
maybe,
just a few weeks, like maybe
yeah, a few
a
weeks.
month. Yeah, a month or so.
Wow. That's very impressive for writing a whole book in that short amount of time.
Yeah, but if you think about it, it took years because I was
It,
making notes in my memory.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly. So energy, I think it's a great concept because everything always exists in the energetic form, and then the next step is in the mental or thought forms, right? And I think
yeah,
a lot of things, like we have a lot of ideas of what we want to manifest or our intentions, say for writing a book, but it comes down from that mental form into the emotional form, and then finally into the physical form where we start writing it. And that's the aligned action part of the four keys.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's
yeah,
right. Unless you really take action and put something down. Sorry about that. This is my dog and he always wants to. It's
it's okay.
he always
Um, yes.
wants to join.
And yes, and then I know that in writing the book, we had a lot of back and forth conversations, and I personally use the steps for myself, but for the average person that is saying looking to get started in manifestation or getting started in trying to be very intentional with what are they trying to materialize in their life, in addition to your book, what else would you give them advice on? How would you tell them to get started?
Um, so it starts with an intention. It's like
Hmm.
it really starts with that. As you said, it's like in the energetic field. So
Yes.
all everything starts with an intention. So if you're just starting out, you don't know anything about energy or healing. It starts with an intention. What do you want? That's it. Ask yourself, what is it that I want to create in this
Hmm.
physical plane? And then from then, you can just figure out the other steps you need to do.
Other steps.
Starts with
Yeah.
an intention.
Yeah, and I think that's such a simple answer, but it's so encompassing. It's so big because it's literally your first step. It's the step that's going to take you on that direction. And I know that for some people, it sounds like it could be a scary first step because, there might be a lot of, again, like you said, that's why the second part's so powerful, right? When you have clarity, you need to have clearing because there might be some mental or emotional blockages or habits or thought forms that might be blocking that clarity towards that intention. So that's why I think clearing is very powerful. And with clearing, we know that in pranic healing, we have certain tools and techniques for clearing, especially in psychotherapy, correct?
Mhm.
And I find that, even working on myself using those techniques, it makes me not only more clearer, but again, it helps with everything else down the line in terms of programming myself to have the right habits and taking the right actions towards that goal or intention. Do you have similar experiences with, say, using pranic healing or other tools or techniques for clearing to making that intention more clear and powerful?
Um, So yeah, once you set an intention, that's when like the emotional blocks and even the mental blocks come into play. So
Hmm.
definitely, I use and I have used pranic healing, especially the psychotherapy. That's my favorite. I think it's very relevant. If you're not feeling well, like emotionally or just psychologically, it's really hard for you to get to your destination. So, when things come up, let's say, the emotion of maybe depression comes up, of course you need some help. Um, feelings of hopelessness. It does help. Like pranic healing can be a tool that you can use for manifestation. But where you get, and where many people get stuck in manifesting is focus on the problem. So use the tool, definitely pranic healing and other tools. Use it,
Hmm.
clear what gets in the way, but just stay focused on your, uh,
End goal.
yeah.
Yes, I think that that was a great point, because I think even in our conversations, I like how you say, focus on the end goal, right? Don't focus on the process of getting there, but if you can visualize and stay focused on what exactly you want at the very end, your energy is almost like a laser beam. It's going to stay focused on that final object that you want and not on the problems, as you mentioned.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's very important. And then moving on to, subconscious reprogramming. I know when we talk about subconscious and conscious and then the unconscious, there's many different parts of our, say, mental body that's out there. But when you say subconscious reprogramming, what exactly does that mean? Are we trying to program like our mind like computers to act a different way, like software? What is subconscious reprogramming?
As a the subconscious mind is the accumulation of all of our programs from birth until the present moment. It could be as easy as your mom telling you, like, you got to finish your food. Um, and maybe it comes with a punishment. So now you have to eat everything, even if you're.
Hmm.
So it runs the show. It's actually at the background. And the thing, you need to reprogram it because it may not be programmed for success. You may not be programmed to reach that goal because otherwise you would be there now. So the reason why you need to reprogram your subconscious mind in terms of your goal is because it's preventing you from acting on your goal. So that's why we need to reprogram it. It's like the GPS. So let's say you have a new location, right, or a new destination. You program the GPS and tell it, hey, this is where I want to go. And the thing about the subconscious mind, though, although it's reprogrammable, sometimes it needs repetition and visualization. It needs reminders because it's always gonna go back to the status quo, what it's always known, until like you move away from it slowly and slowly. So
Hmm.
because that's just how the subconscious mind works. It's very stubborn in a way. It's like, this was the last program that you added here, and I'm just gonna stick with it until you
Hmm.
get another instruction.
Hmm. Yeah, I sometimes see it as almost, how in science they say we only use about like 5% of our brain at the most, right? I think that's the conscious part of our brain where we consciously use the activity of our brain, but the other 95% is the subconscious and then the unconscious parts of our neural activity, of our thinking, of our emotional processing, things like that. And I find that the subconscious part, like you said, it's almost like you're driving on autopilot. When you're driving on the highway, but you're not actually consciously thinking about driving, but you're still, changing lanes throughout traffic. You know when to brake, you know when to speed up, things like that. That is the subconscious part of us that we've been trained, like you said, through our environment, through our experiences, that is almost like autopilot. And unless we make deliberate conscious changes, we're still going to be on that autopilot. So yes, that is a very important aspect about manifestations because, like you said, there's maybe some things that, in terms of subconscious programming that we've had in our past that may not be so helpful for certain goals or intentions that we have. And then the last one is aligned action. And I think this is a missing piece to a lot of manifestation, techniques, or when people say to, you have to do this, it sounds like it's just all about affirmations. It sounds like it's just all about visualization, nothing like physical. But why is aligned action so important?
Yeah, because you mentioned like the different bodies before. We have the mental body, the spiritual body, and emotional body, and then we have the physical body. And
Hmm.
we are working on the physical plane. We need to add that in element of action, and it's not just taking action; it's aligned to your goals action. Let's say,
Hmm.
um, in your case, you wanted to be a public speaker, right? Like just talk.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Right. Think about that conversation all those years ago, and now we're doing this.
I know. So definitely because that's your goal. So of course you're gonna pick an action that's related to your goal. It's aligning with your goal. So in my case, I'm a writer. Of course, I have to write every. I have to write this many number of words per week. So it's more like um, because we make and that was the problem in the movie The Secret because I watched it and then I realized like I was confused. Is it just visualization? No, it's actually taking action because we create a physical plane and we have a physical body, which means we need to do the work.
Mhm.
So unfortunately,
Yeah.
people that are like, oh, it's just gonna drop from the sky, you know.
Mhm.
Sometimes,
Yeah, I think that's more for the movies or theatrical value.
yeah,
But yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think it goes back to pranic healing. Like you said, we have the energetic body, the mental body, the emotional body, but we're also physical beings, right? So I think when we have the energy part, right, when we get to a certain level that the energy can manifest,
Uh-huh.
um, that will create the physical form. And that's very important because we need to do both the energy and the physical. Because the aligned action part is very important because you don't just take any action. You want to take aligned action towards getting closer towards your goal. And that's very important. So things like I'm doing now, like you said, I one of my personal goals was to be, a good public speaker. And one way to do this is to just do one-on-one podcast interviews through an online medium like we're doing now. But eventually, I want to do it on a larger scale. So this is one part of the aligned action towards getting there. Um, so yeah, and then I would say finally, Jen, what after combining all these four keys together, these four uh, ingredients that is part of a recipe, how successful are people in basically getting what they want at the end? What what determines your success in going through this process and finally achieving your goal at the end?
Yeah, I think you're a prime example.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I worked with you with the four keys. So yeah, I was surprised that you were doing the podcast. I'm like, whoa, he's really taking action, you know? So what will determine that, this thing works is when you're starting to do aligned action actually. Yeah.
Hmm.
And actually,
Yeah.
I was working with someone too. That was like over a year ago, and I was shocked. She appeared on TV and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm talking about this." Like she was good on like organic farming. And I was shocked like, when
Hmm.
she said, "You know what? The stuff you've been teaching me really works because like." I'm gonna be on TV and I'm gonna be talking about, organic farming. And I was so proud. I'm like, what? Like, even I am in shock that, people
Mm,
action. It's
hmm.
shocking to me because I was just like, I know it works, but then I didn't
Right.
like it works, and
Works, right.
yeah,
Yeah, especially when you see your students or clients have success, it just makes it so much more real for you, right? It makes like, oh, even though I wrote a book about it and did it for myself, it's a little bit more gratifying and a fuller experience when you see other people, have the same success as well.
yeah, and
So,
in myself too, because I've been working on removing my blocks for
mm-hmm,
marketing myself, and
mm-hmm,
I'm surprising myself. Why am I like marketing? Like I do Amazon marketing, and I'm
yes.
even shocked at myself. Like, why am I doing this? I thought I'm supposed to be procrastinating.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of us think like that too, but it's like, yeah, once you kind of break through those old limiting thought forms, habits, programs, belief systems, you just find yourself taking the right action, right? Taking the right choice, and that comes from the beginning, right? Which is remembering the clarity, remembering why you're doing this, remembering the intention from the beginning, and the intention leads to the end result. So, that's really amazing. And then finally, Jen, I would say, I think especially now, it's more important than ever to realize the importance of everything that we've talked about, right? Realize the importance of having clarity, of having tools to clear your mind of the things that does not serve you, programming your mind in the right way with the right habits, right thought forms, and then taking the right action. So I would say if you can give advice, if you can give some words of wisdom, anyone on the street, a very simple piece of advice that will help them improve their lives, what would that advice be?
Advice. So, I had this advice given to me by my book coach, who I accidentally bumped into in Denver. She's the reason why I've been writing a lot of books. Anyway,
Hmm.
the advice that I can give people is do it. You know, she said, do it messily or do it like dirty or whatever,. But just do it. So if you have a
Hmm.
dream, or just do it and just figure out how you're gonna get there, you know just do it. And it's not gonna be perfect, it never will be perfect, but just do it.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I don't think that was by accident, number one, bumping into your book coach, right? But two, I think that's a beautiful way to describe it because in the beginning we are so perfectionist because we have this one intention and one goal. But in the beginning, you're bound to make mistakes. You're bound to fail and you're bound to have a mess, like you said. But it's the process of just getting your wheels started, right? Getting the wheels starting spinning, spitting out of the mud or dirt that you're so used to being stuck in for some people. And then once you feel like you see yourself moving, right? You see yourself getting out of the mud, you see yourself having results. That gives you even more confidence, even more motivation, right? Even more um, aligned action, right, to continue moving forward towards your final goal. And I think that's such a beautiful word of advice, especially even for what I'm doing now, right? Even with this podcast, I had no idea how to video edit. I had no idea how to edit audio, but I'm doing it. I'm learning it, and this is probably like the sixth episode, and I'm getting the hang of it. So
Wow.
very, very, very similar. Just do it. It might be messy, but things will improve as you go along. So, all right. So thank you so much, Jeannie, for being on this podcast. We had so much fun talking about the four keys to manifesting your dream life. And Jeannie is a close friend of mine, in addition to being a pranic healer and narcotic yogi. So, and for the rest of our audience, Jeannie, I'm going to link your information down below, but how can we find your work? How can we get to contact you?
Oh yeah, I'm on YouTube, Genie Hermoso, Genie Hermoso, Hermoso with an O, and then my blog is Mystic Genie 88. MYSTIC Genie GE 88. So at Mystic Genie 88, and then yeah, just look for my name, Genie Hermoso. I pop up on Google, so and Amazon, so I'm everywhere.
Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. And Amazon is also where all of your other books are because you write also uh, many different other types of pieces in addition to manifestation. So
Yeah.
our audience can check out that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jeannie, again. And Atma Namaste, everyone. And we hope to see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much. Bye.